Willis threw 2,800 yards and 27 touchdowns while completing 60% of his passes. He was playing against North Texas and Eastern Michigan. As a senior in Big 12, Shedeur Sanders threw for 4,100 yards and 37 touchdowns while completing 74% of his down passes. What are we talking about here? He's better than Shedeur. Oh, and as a rookie third-round draft pick in the NFL, Malik Willis had 3 starts. Here are the stats from...
Listen, the Malik Willis is extremely high risk. He absolutely is. I think that we're going to see his market get inflated, in particular this offseason, because the quarterback class is so bad, right? After Fernando Mendoza, the draft is really not an exciting spot. The best options on the trade market are Kyler Murray and Tua Tagovailoa in terms of pure talent, but neither one is a good option because they're both coming off of their massive extensions, and the teams are really trying to sell them for parts, right? So Willis, when we try to find a historical precedent for the Malik Willis is extremely high risk. He absolutely is. I think that we're going to see his market get inflated, in particular this offseason, because the quarterback class is so bad, right? After Fernando Mendoza, the draft is really not an exciting spot. The best options on the trade market are Kyler Murray and Tua Tagovailoa in terms of pure talent, but neither one is a good option because they're both coming off of their massive extensions, and the teams are really trying to sell them for parts, right? So Willis, when we try to find a historical precedent for a guy who was a first 3-round select.
Shedeur Sanders just shut down the Malik Willis debate, but what he does next could change everything for the Browns. Malik Willis threw 2,800 yards and 27 touchdowns. Shedeur Sanders threw for 4,100 yards and 37 touchdowns. What are we talking about here? Yo, let me tell you what just happened because this is crazy. So, don't skip a single second of this video. And if this story touches your heart, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and let us know in the comments. Where are you watching from? Let's begin. This isn't just a take. This isn't just another loud opinion floating around NFL Twitter. This is a moment, a real one. Because what you just saw wasn't a debate ending, it was a narrative collapsing in real time. The second those numbers hit the timeline, the second the receipts came out, everything Cleveland media had been pushing for weeks just fell apart. And that's why this matters. Because for weeks, we heard it. Over and over. Same words, same energy, same lazy framing. They said compete. They said it like it was fair, like it was logical. They said market value, like throwing around money automatically turns potential into production. They said upside, like upside magically erases 4 years of reality. And the wild part, none of it held up for more than 5 seconds once the facts showed up. That's what made this moment different. Usually these narratives linger. Usually they drag on for months. But this one died the second people stopped listening to vibes and started looking at numbers. And that tells you everything you need to know. Because this was never really about Malik Willis. Not really. This was about comfort. This was about familiarity. This was about certain people in certain seats feeling safer with the idea of competition than the idea of commitment. Safer hedging than standing on a take. Safer questioning than believing. And look, I'm not here to attack a player. Malik Willis didn't ask to be turned into a talking point. But the way his name got floated, the way it got framed as some obvious upgrade, some necessary insurance, some must-do move, that wasn't football analysis. That was narrative management. You could hear it in the language. Just bring him in. Just to see. Just in case. Just enough doubt. Just enough noise. Just enough to keep the door cracked open so nobody has to fully say, yeah, this is the guy. And when the numbers came out, you could almost feel the scramble. Because suddenly the conversation wasn't abstract anymore. It wasn't theoretical. It wasn't about traits or tools or arm angles. It was production. It was context. It was competition level. It was results. And once you get there, the whole thing gets uncomfortable fast. That's why this hit like a bombshell. Because it exposed how fragile the narrative really was. How fast it folded. How little substance there was underneath all that confidence. And it forced a bigger question to the surface, a question nobody really wants to answer honestly. Why does this keep happening to this quarterback? Why is it always framed as a trial? Why is it always a test? Why is it never just, he earned it? We've seen young quarterbacks struggle more, produce less, show less, and still get unconditional belief from day one. No disclaimers. No asterisks. No constant. Yeah, but here?
It's always yeah, but
Yeah. But competition? Yeah. But market options? Yeah. But what if? And once you see that pattern, you can't unsee it. Because this isn't noise anymore. This is exposure. This is a line being drawn. And from here on out, every move, every take, every headline is going to mean a little more. Because this isn't just a debate that ended. This is a moment that revealed who's really watching and who's just pushing a story. Let's slow this down for a second and talk about where Shedeur actually stands right now. Because once you look at the reality instead of the noise, a lot of this conversation starts sounding ridiculous. This isn't some mystery project. This isn't a wait-and-see lottery ticket. This is a quarterback who stepped into the league and produced immediately, as a rookie, in chaos, with pressure on him from day one. And still, the numbers showed up. The poise showed up. The moments showed up. He didn't just survive, he proved he belongs. Look at the production. Look at the situations he was thrown into. Short weeks, tight windows, defenses that knew exactly what was coming. And instead of shrinking, he stood in there and made throws. Real throws. NFL throws. Third and long throws. Late game throws. The kind of stuff you can't fake with hype or camp buzz. And that's the part that keeps getting skipped over. This wasn't preseason noise. This wasn't a random flash. This was sustained, on-field proof. He's already done enough. He's already shown it. Now look at the team situation. This roster isn't perfect, but it's not hopeless either. There are pieces here. There's a defense that can keep games close. There's a run game that can take pressure off. What this team actually needs is continuity at quarterback reps. Trust, rhythm. Not another reset button. Not another experiment. And then there's the contract piece, which somehow nobody wants to talk about honestly. You've got a quarterback on a rookie deal giving you high-level output for a fraction of the cost. That's the dream in today's NFL. That's how teams build contenders. Cheap quarterback play with upside lets you invest everywhere else. And instead of leaning into that advantage, the conversation jumps straight to replacement. Ask yourself why. Because when other young quarterbacks flash even less, the language is totally different. No competition talk. No, let's see who wins the job. They get automatic franchise labels, automatic patience, automatic belief. They struggle, and it's development. They fail, and it's learning curves. But here, it's constant doubt, constant qualifiers, constant backup plans. And that's where earned credibility comes in. This isn't hype anymore. This isn't projection. This is résumé. He's already done enough. He's already shown it. At some point, production has to matter more than preference. From a depth chart perspective, this shouldn't even be complicated. Development beats disruption. Reps beat rumors. Confidence beats chaos. Quarterbacks don't grow by looking over their shoulder every snap. They grow when the organization says, "This is yours. Go lead." Because the truth is, this team doesn't need a savior. It already has its guy in the building. Right now. Not 2 years from now. Not after another competition. Right now. And once you accept that, once you really sit with it, the criticism stops sounding like concern and starts sounding like fear. Because if he's already here, then a lot of people were wrong. And that's when things really get uncomfortable. Let's talk about the part nobody wants to say out loud, the agenda. Because once you start really paying attention, the pattern gets impossible to ignore. The goalposts keep moving. Constantly. Every time he clears one bar, another one gets raised. First it was, let's see if he can handle the league. He did. Then it was, let's see if he can do it consistently. He did that too. Then it turned into, okay, but let's bring someone in just to push him, just to compete, just to test him, just in case. And that's where the contradiction hits you right in the face. How do you say you're not sold on another quarterback, and in the same breath argue that he should start? How do you admit a guy isn't a star, isn't proven, isn't the future, but still present him as a legitimate threat to someone who's already producing? That's not analysis, that's hedging. That's people trying to protect themselves from being wrong. And it keeps happening. Every few weeks, it's a new name, a new option, a new distraction. 1 week, it's this free agent. Next week, It's that trade rumor. Then, it's next year's draft class. There's always someone else. Always another shiny alternative. Always another excuse to avoid full commitment. It's never enough. There's always another excuse. That's the pattern. And once you see it, you realize this isn't about football anymore. This is about narrative control. This is about certain voices being uncomfortable with the idea that they might have misread the situation, that they might have doubted the wrong guy, that they might have pushed the wrong story for too long. Because committing means accountability. Committing means if it works, you have to own the fact that you questioned it. And if it doesn't, you can't hide behind, well, we never really gave him the job. So instead, they keep things blurry. They keep the door half open. They keep cycling names so nobody ever has to plant a flag. We've seen this before. We've seen quarterbacks who had to be perfect just to be considered acceptable. One bad half, one rough stretch, and suddenly it's panic. Meanwhile, others get years of grace, years of patience, years of excuses. It's never enough. There's always another excuse. And what makes this whole thing worse is the way it's framed as concern. Like it's about protecting the team. Like it's about being smart. But real belief doesn't sound like that. Real belief sounds decisive. Real belief sounds like confidence. Real belief doesn't constantly look over its shoulder. This constant second-guessing doesn't help development. It doesn't help the locker room. It doesn't help the fan base. All it does is create noise. And that noise is intentional. Because noise buys time. Noise keeps conversations open. Noise lets people avoid saying the simple truth, that he's earned it. So now, the question isn't about talent. It's not about stats. It's not about fit. The question is way simpler and way more uncomfortable. What more is he supposed to do? This is where the tone shifts. This is where frustration turns into belief. Because moments like this, as loud and uncomfortable as they are, this is the window. This is the part of the story where careers flip. Think about it. Every quarterback who ever became that guy had a moment where the noise peaked, where doubt got loud, where the questions felt relentless. We've seen this before. Think Jalen Hurts, early on. Think Josh Allen before the leap. Think even Lamar when people tried to put a ceiling on him. There's always a stretch where the world decides what you can't be right before you prove what you are. And that's why this matters so much right now. Because for the first time, the path is clear. A full offseason, not split reps, not 1 foot in, 1 foot out. A real offseason. Film, timing, chemistry. A system built around him instead of squeezed onto him. Trust from day one, not earned week by week, not questioned after every mistake, but given. That changes everything. Confidence grows differently when you know the job is yours. You stop playing tight. You stop forcing. You start leading. You start correcting guys in the huddle. You start owning the room. And make no mistake, leadership isn't loud quotes or viral speeches. Leadership is command. It's presence. It's teammates believing that when things go sideways, the quarterback has it handled. That kind of belief spreads fast in a locker room. When players know who their quarterback is, everything settles. Routes get sharper, protection gets cleaner. Effort goes up a notch, because clarity breeds confidence, and confidence wins games in this league, just as much as talent does. And here's the part people keep missing. Adversity didn't break him. It built him. All the noise, all the doubt, all the moving goalposts, that's fuel now. That's edge. That's memory. Quarterbacks don't forget who doubted them when they were doing everything right and still getting questioned. That stuff shows up in preparation. It shows up in decision-making. It shows up late in games when the moment gets heavy. This is how careers flip. Not when everything is easy. Not when the path is smooth. But when the pressure forces you to sharpen. When the resistance turns into resolve. When a player realizes, oh, I see it now. This is the window. A chance to take everything that's been thrown at him and turn it into momentum. A chance to step into the season not as a question mark, not as a project, but as the leader of the team. The present, not the future. Because belief changes the way a quarterback walks onto the field. And once that belief is real, once it's shared by the locker room, things start moving fast. Moments like this don't fade. Moments like this don't get forgotten. Moments like this create stars. This is where I stop explaining and start drawing the line. Because at this point, you either see it or you don't. You're either paying attention or you're clinging to old takes because letting go would mean admitting you were wrong. And that's fine. But understand this, there's no middle ground anymore. This is the moment. Remember this moment. They told you he wasn't enough. They told you he needed competition. They told you he was a question mark. And you heard it so many times that some people started repeating it like truth instead of noise. But here's the thing about this league. It doesn't care about narratives. It cares about results. And results always come for the people who put the work in while everyone else is talking. So I'm not hedging this. I'm not qualifying it. I'm saying it straight. If he gets the job, really gets it, if he gets the offseason, the reps, the trust, the belief from day one, this thing flips fast. Faster than people are ready for. Wins start stacking. Confidence snowballs. The same voices that doubted start changing tone. And suddenly it's, well, we always knew he had it. Nah. Remember this moment. Remember who stood on it early. Remember who believed when belief wasn't comfortable. Because that's how legacies form, not when it's obvious, but when it's contested, when it's loud, when it's uncomfortable. And I'm talking directly to you now. If you're watching this and you felt that frustration, that confusion, that sense of what more does he need to do? You're not crazy. You're just ahead of the curve. You see what's happening before the consensus catches up. And trust me, it always does. There are going to be doubters. There always are. People who live in hypotheticals. People who chase the next name instead of committing to the one in front of them. Let them talk. Let them tweet. Let them move the goalposts again, because belief travels faster than doubt once the games start. This is the part where teams find out who their leaders are. This is the part where quarterbacks stop being stories and start being problems for defenses. This is the part where you stop asking, can he? And start asking, how do we stop him? So yeah, believe, or get left behind. And when the season turns, when the wins come, when the conversation shifts like it always does, I want you to remember this moment. Remember who said it before it was safe. Remember who stood on it when it was still controversial. And if you're riding with it, don't sit quiet. Speak up, argue it, defend it, build the community around it. Because this league loves rewriting history unless fans hold receipts, numbers, respect, time,